Hey guys, this is Working Class Cards. This is like my first episode. I've done episodes in the past. I just didn't upload them. A lot of them are just weird and things of that nature. But I actually got a microphone, so I'm going to be recording some episodes. Hopefully, I'll start doing some actual videos or graphics. I really like PSA Collector. I feel like he created the blueprint as far as how you could make engaging card content. Not exactly how he does it with the prices, but I just like his graphics. I think that's the best way, the best, most cost-effective way to make content. This whole round table, all these podcasts, it's like they're cool and all, but a lot of them are just very boring. And a lot of people just don't have the attention span to sit and listen to people talk for like 30 minutes plus about their collections, whatever. Don't get me wrong, a lot of those content creators make really good videos, really good informational knowledge that you really would be hard pressed to get anywhere else. But anyways, I'm talking about Neo Cards and Comics made a video about Morant's prices. We all know they're going down because he can't stay away from guns. But he made an interesting proposition. He was like, if you had $500, and you had to buy someone to hold for 5 years, who would you buy? Morant or Zion? And I think that is still the better buy, even with all the issues he has. And it's because, has that fighter spirit. He's a knucklehead, but he's a knucklehead, he has a desire to compete. He has a desire to be the best. The problem is, a lot of these knuckleheads, even though they have they have a lot of behavior ideas and thought patterns that match the masculine ideal, it's just they can't control themselves. And I always say that there's certain traits that we really praise in society, but it's like we only want to praise it in certain, we want to put it in a box and say, oh well, you can be like that only during certain times. It's like, no, like a lot of those guys, they're always on, you can't turn it off. So yeah, you like it when he's playing basketball, but when he's in the club or hanging out with his friends, you want him to turn it off. It's like, it's just not realistic. But my point is this, if he can get past this situation, get some help, put the guns down, and I don't know what that's going to take, because clearly, I mean, for most people, this is not even a big deal. Like, even people who like guns, they're not showing them off and having fun on social media with them, right? Especially if they're as high profile as Morant and their career isn't based off of gun promotion. My point is, he's someone where if he can get that situated, he can come back and still compete at a high level, be a several-time All-Star, make All-NBA eventually, and he's gonna have a good career. Versus someone like Zion. Zion just seems like he doesn't care. Zion just seems like, I mean, the way he keeps gaining weight it's concerning. I mean, this is a young guy who got so fat he missed an entire season. Like that, I don't understand that. Like, how can you? I mean, we've seen guys like Luka, guys come in season out of shape, but like Zion was so fat, like he just couldn't play. That's a huge red flag. That's a huge red flag. A guy that young shouldn't be so nonchalant about messing up. That's a huge red flag to me. And then he got injured again, which, hey, it happens. And I don't know if he could have came back. I mean, there's different stories. Some people are saying that he was cleared. Other people saying he wasn't cleared. But his team had an elimination game, And he said, I feel fine. I want to compete, but I just don't feel like Zion. He's like, I want to compete, but I just don't feel like myself. And it's like, people who want to compete, they don't say they want to compete, but they just compete. Jordan had that ankle injury, and the coach, the GM, wanted him to sit it out so they could tank. And Jordan said, no, I'm going to continue playing, or I'm going to get the surgery. And the surgery had 10% chance of failure. So Jordan said, look, I love the game so much, I'm willing to take that 10% risk that ends my career because I want to play. Shohei Ohtani, when he had the Tommy John surgery, and he couldn't play, he was in his house crying for hours. Those are people who really want to compete. Like Zion, you don't want to compete. You have to be honest with yourself. You don't want to compete. Now, again, was he really cleared to play? Who knows? But that type of mentality, that type of nonchalantness, not just for him, but just the understanding that other people are watching. There are a lot of people who really like Zion, or they were defending him, and when they saw that clip where he's like, I just don't feel like myself, I want to compete, I just don't feel like myself, that turned a lot of them off. Like, he has to have some type of PR or someone telling him, like, hey, Zion, you can't talk about that so lightly. Because even if he wasn't ready to play, the perception is he could have played. His team needed him, but he decided not to. Like, again, that's a guy, I don't know what's going on in his life, what trauma he may have faced, or maybe he just doesn't like basketball. Who knows? But again, Zion is a guy, even if he gets the weight issue figured out, even if he gets the injury issue figured out, I don't know if he's going to be able to overcome obstacles. He seems like a guy, as soon as he hits an obstacle, he just stops, right? Like, there's certain guys that are like that. It's like they're always choosing the path of least resistance. As soon as they hit that path, or as soon as they hit an obstacle, they just stop. Whereas, like, the real GOATs, like LeBron, Jordan, Ohtani, those are guys who, they figure it out. Whatever they have to do, they figure it out. I don't think that Zion has the desire to figure it out. I'm not saying because this isn't a talent issue. Zion is clearly a super talented player, but it's a desire issue. He has to want to figure it out. I don't think he will. Again, at this age, he's like, 22, 23. This is the age where people are usually happy and, they feel invincible and they just feel like they can do whatever they want. Like, he's too young to be so grounded and not in a positive way. Like Ja, as much as we hate Ja has that young person energy. Like, yeah, I'm young, I'm going to party, I'm going to do what I want. Like, that's what we expect. So it's like Ja is a guy who he's going through that normal development. It's just, in this era of sensationalism, and I don't blame the NBA because after the early 2000s, people forget, dude, NBA lost their NBC contract because of all the urban gangsta behavior. Like, this is the type of stuff that is not just going to affect Ja's compensation. It's going to affect the whole league. If they can't get him under wraps, he is going to literally hurt the NBA's revenue. So they have to punish him. And, people think Adam Silver is too weak. That's why everyone's kind of in a panic, because they're like, Adam, like, if you don't handle this, Ja could really just destroy the league's image, because they can't have this, guy dancing in clubs and fighting and pointing red beams at people's faces, showing off guns on social media. It's just not a good look. And like I said, the league understands that someone like Ja can completely tarnish their image, especially when they're trying to get higher contracts for the next CBA. They're trying to get bigger endorsement deals for the players. Like, this is a big problem. It could turn out to be really ugly if Adam Silver doesn't handle it now. He's got to give Ja at least half a season without pay. But anyways, the point is this: you know, Ja, he's a dumbass, but he has that desire to be really good. He has that desire to be one of the best. Zion just seems like he doesn't really care, and I'm not sure if you can really take that out of someone's heart. Like if he doesn't want to be the best, he's not gonna want to be the best. I don't think you can force it out of him. Like Zion is a guy who he was probably just so talented. He didn't need to really apply himself until now. So I just don't think that he's gonna figure it out. I don't think he wants to figure it out. Versus someone like Ja, it's like, hey, we've seen him go out there and try. We've seen him have a lot of heart. Yeah, he makes little dumb PR mistakes, but it's much easier to get a guy who's good, who people like. People really like John Morant. Like, they like him. They just don't like his bonehead decisions. But I'm saying it's easier to get a guy who's already good. He's already good, who has a desire to be great, who works hard, and tell him to stop doing certain things than to try to give heart to a guy who's hella talented, but just doesn't feel like applying himself. And we all know people like that in life, right? They just don't want to apply themselves. And it's like, hey, you can give a little encouragement, here and there, but at some point in time, you just have to accept, like, hey, that's just who they are. And there's nothing wrong with that per se. Like, I know people talk about investing, and hey, I lost my own Zion. I bought a silver BGS 9.5 for like almost 3K. I think it was like 29.50, and I ended up selling it a couple months later for like 24, 25 ish. And I don't even know what that's worth, but I know the silver Prism PSA 10 is like 1,300. So I'm assuming what I had was like sub $1,000. But again, as far as it goes into sports card collecting or speculation, the reality is buying someone at the bottom is just always a bad idea. You never know. We don't have enough data. We don't have enough information to understand what a guy is capable of. And I think that's a huge part of investing, is a player's emotional intelligence, the way they carry themselves, the way they respond to adversity, right? Like, that's a big, big deal. Like, really, you shouldn't invest in any guy, regardless of how talented they are, until they show how they respond to adversity. Because Zion just seems like he doesn't really care, right? And and these are the type of traits that you can't really tell out the gate. Like, it takes 2, 3, 4 years of watching a guy before you can say, okay, yeah, he's got that mentality. He wants to be one of the best. He works like he wants to be one of the best, and he's always trying to do the best he can in adverse situations. So my point is, I would pick Ja over Zion 5 years from now, but I don't think either one's a good investment. And this is such a good reason why you shouldn't buy guys at the bottom. You should give a guy at least 4 or 5 years to not just show their talent, but also show their personality. Because a lot of these guys, they are so talented, but they just, the way their psychology is just, it's damaged. And it's like, you can be the best guy in the world, but if your brain isn't set up right, then you're not going to reach your potential, and you're not going to make money if you're investing in the hobby.